We need to find this place or we'll be late.
Make a left on Astrology Avenue. Oh, I'm sorry, I meant right. It should be right here at 444 Spirit Way. Oh, turn!
It looks like Renee. Yay, we're on time.
The James and Kellee Show.
Great, let's start the show.
Hi, we made it.
If people only knew.
Oh my God, you guys, you just can't imagine this one. We had a little bit of sound trouble, just a little, right?
Little computer trouble, sound trouble, so I'm on my iPhone.
Yeah, well, you got this to work. That was a good thing. Yeah, it does.
How are you, Kellee?
I'm doing well.
You're doing quite well.
I'm doing quite well. Oh God! But you did have an extraordinary Friday evening.
Yes, it was quite extraordinary. The demonstration was really incredible. I don't say that easily, but it was really, Spirit was there, and I knew it was going to be a strong night because during the day, as you know, you get that sense when you open your mind to that awareness of a space around you and above you, and that you kind of open up to the spirit world. And part of opening up, of course, is just being surrendering to whatever there is and being neutral and keeping your energy, open and in balance, and then getting there. And I listened to Leslie Flint tapes the whole day.
I bet that was very helpful.
Yeah, Leslie Flint is the medium, a physical medium where the voice box appears in the air when he was alive. And I sat with him several times. And the wonderful words, there was a couple that had passed over, the woman passed over, a French woman, and she was talking to her Indian man lover in India, and it was a true love story. And in the beginning, the guy Mickey comes through and talks about how they're true soulmates. And I listened to that before I did the event, and it was just all about love. And it got to the point where she was saying in the voice box, "Darling, I miss you, darling. Oh, please die sooner, Oh, I know that you can't. It's just your life work, but I miss you so much." It was so beautiful.
Yeah,
That true love. So the love is what brings them through. Love is what it's all about. So that's where I placed my space and kept that in that space.
Yes.
And all the messages that night were about love and about. There was a lot of upset with people, of course, a lot of emotional, things going on.
Yeah.
But really came down to love and surrendering to that love. And you present it to people in your audience, and if they take it, they take it. If they don't, that's fine. It was good. Spirit was working, and I was working, and many of the audience members were working.
Okay. I heard from many people that they loved it.
Yeah,
it was an incredible night. And you said David G was there as well.
David G, the master meditator who taught Deepak Chopra how to meditate, he was there. And I introduced him, and I introduced my meditation course to people there. And he's endorsing my course.
Great.
And it was great. And we had lovely singing by his wife and Peggy, another musician, incredible talent. And Reverend Christian was there who runs the center. And it was just an overall, and everyone said, "It feels so good in here. It feels so lovely." Oh. And it does, because that's the work they do. It's about love in that space. It's my favorite center to go to in the country. And I live here.
I know.
We're neighbors.
Yeah. Isn't that wonderful?
How was your weekend, Kellee? How was your week? I mean, you've been traveling.
My weekend was hilarious. It was so good. James, I had the best weekend. It was like Don and I went to Chicago to go shopping, which is, honestly, it was like Ma and Pa Kettle go to the big town. If anybody our age remembers Ma and Pa Kettle, that's really what it's like when you live on a farm. I mean, because it's an adventure. You're going to the big city. So
did it feel weird driving there? Did it feel weird we got into the city because you're in a city environment?
A little bit. Yeah, a little bit, because I haven't been out, in a big city in a while. So in a big city. But it was so fun, James. I mean, I got to go to all my favorite shops, and it was just so fun. I had the best time ever. So I actually had a great weekend. Super
good.
Weekend. Yeah.
Yeah, I had a lovely weekend too. A lot of friends here for the event and to visit, and it was really nice.
Good.
And now I'm getting full force ahead with starting tomorrow, my program for my cruise.
Okay.
It's going to be quite an interesting cruise.
You do know it's coming up soon.
2 weeks, because you'll be here in 2 weeks, right?
I'll be there. I will be with you in 2 weeks. 2 weeks from today.
That's my guide.
I know that's what you're doing. You're like, Kellee, how many days is it? 2 weeks from today. But
I work really well under pressure, so as long as I have
you certainly do.
I do. I've written books under pressure. That's how I work the best.
But so many people are writing me and emailing me, telling me how excited they're getting for this trip, and they're, it's a real event and it's really going to happen. And so this is
It's
very,
really going to happen.
it's really going to happen. And Margaret, you can't wait for the Love Boat. I think that's going to be so great.
I called our friend Ron, who's running the trip, and I called him the other night because I was over near his house downtown San Diego, and they thought they'd say hello. And it was he answers and he said, "James, it's 12:30 in the morning in Barcelona. I fly home tomorrow. I can't talk now." Sorry.
Oh my gosh!
And
you never know where he's going to be.
Your phone if you're there.
Oh my gosh, that's.
But he's excited. Everyone's excited. It's going to be great. And astrologically, it's a good time. You said to go.
It's a perfect time for us to go on this cruise.
So what's happening now? Because I had trouble getting on tonight, and
I know you.
Is there a Mercury retrograde?
Well,
thing going on here?
This is going to sound funny, but Mercury retrograde starts on your birthday.
Well, I was born during Mercury retrograde.
Yes, you and I both were. That's right.
And I'm 65. Huh, it's weird.
Yes, and a lot of aspects in this month in August that I will talk about, throughout the month, because I'll start about today. But what you're experiencing today, I mean, first of all, we have 5 planets retrograde, 4 planets plus Chiron retrograde. But on top of that, we have a full moon that starts really tonight and tomorrow. And this full moon, you did your show today, James, and you talked about
it's been very intense. It's been
very intense.
Yeah.
So what I'm literally calling August a month of big emotions. A lot of emotions that are going to happen, a lot of intensity, because we have 2 full moons this month, which means we have a blue moon, because the first full moon is tomorrow, which really begins tonight and tomorrow. And we'll talk about that. And it's in Capricorn in Vedic astrology. It's a huge full moon. And the second one is August 30th. So
when's the first one, Kelly?
The first one's today and tomorrow. I mean, really? Yes, today and tomorrow.
I've been here in San Diego, so we won't see it because we have gray May.
oh gosh. Well,
the energy has certainly been intense.
The energy's intense, and you said something on your program today on Soul Care. You said, "Be open to magic." Do you remember you said that?
Yeah, and yes.
Okay, so this full moon in Capricorn is actually, it exemplifies manifestation of spirit in matter. So be open to the magic, because this is a very magical day, today and tomorrow, really quite magical. And this is the kind of full moon where you really want to go inward. Because the intensity of the energy, because this is a super moon, and it'll appear.
What does that mean, a super moon?
A super moon is where they appear brighter. They're closest to Earth. And so this is, it will appear brighter. Here's the other thing, James, though. It brings greater than normal emotional energy, right? So it also means that the tides are going to be higher, seismic activity, could be storms. I mean, this is a major full moon here coming out.
Well, Kelly, the Friday night of my event, it was very emotional. And many people had seen me before, said, "This is the first event I've been to with you that's been so emotional." And people crying left and right. And it was
I heard that from other people about that night. About Friday night too. Yeah, very emotional. A lot of reasons why. Don't forget, Chiron, the wounded healer, is retrograde, and it's in Pisces, which brings a lot of emotion to the table and a lot of healing. So I would suspect on Friday you did a lot of healing for people.
A lot of healing, a lot of different types of healing. Physically, Edgar Casey came through one point.
Oh my gosh!
Edgar Casey came through and talked to a lady about her internal self. 2 people. Another lady about her lumbar spine was impinged and it goes down her leg. Yes, she said exactly right. I mean, there were really some 2 or 3 like in different types of readings, but Edgar Casey was there. His energy was definitely there.
Wow.
He's done before, but
he works with you. He works with you.
He does. He works with you.
Yeah, so that's amazing though, that you were able to get some information and help for people.
I mean, it ran the gamut of emotional, like partner lost, and you have a brace on your arm, and down to your son passed away. He doesn't want you to go over there with him. And the lady said if he wasn't going to come through tonight, I've been to many mediums, and tonight if he hadn't come through, I was going to kill myself.
Oh my God.
So this is what the level of emotion, and it was just like really strong. And I was just like, I was just grounded and centered, because I don't know, they're obviously taking care of me, because I knew I had to be grounded and centered. If I didn't, I'd be taken away with the emotion.
Right. Wow. I understand that.
Yeah.
And it's going to remain this way, James.
Right. For how long?
Well,
how long, Kelly?
For a few, quite some time, days and days and days, actually. It's going to be, this is an emotional month.
So, well, it's a good time to let go of relationships, to get in relationships,
Well,
to
no,
assess
not a
relationships.
good time necessarily to get into one because Venus is still retrograde until September 3rd. And in fact, speaking of Venus, it does something, it goes into Gandanta, James, your favorite thing.
Gadanta, love Gadanta.
Love
Water, water,
Gandanta,
water.
August 4th to 8th, and it goes from Leo into Cancer. So Gandanta is always between a fire and a water sign. And during this period of time, August 4th to August
Hurricanes.
8th, hurricanes and, wait for it, extreme transformational quality and destabilizing in some cases. So that can trigger financial strain. It can trigger relationship issues. So this is, and I would say watch your communication with people too during this period, August 4th to 8th, because it's kind of extreme during this period of time, and it does bring up a lot of emotions. Yeah, so no, now is not a time necessarily to get into a relationship. It's a time where people are leaving relationships, actually.
Sure.
You
Sure.
know, so
And sometimes, Kellee, like to leave a relationship and be with yourself. Like
yes,
have a relationship with, but be finding yourself and have a relationship within yourself. I think it's
yes,
a good time for that, isn't it?
excellent, excellent. Again, this, especially with this full moon. Put your crystals out, clear your crystals, meditate. You said something today too during your show today, and you said that the most important thing that you had, James, during your development as a medium was meditation.
Yeah, 100%.
And 100% with me too.
Yeah,
There's
sitting in the stillness,
yes.
sitting in that quiet self,
Mhm.
and learning what the stillness is, and
Yeah.
learning that the stillness, the quiet, is very loud, and it
Yeah.
really is so loud. It's going on the inside out. It's like going inward,
Yes.
and understanding
Yes.
yourself on a soul level, not what you think, but what you feel, what's in your heart. Meditation to me, meditations, or I call it now sitting in the stillness, does that. It's an awareness. It's an insight. It's an
Yes.
insightful work. It's
Yes.
insightful work.
Oh, it's so necessary if you're going to do this work, and it's
It's so necessary,
necessary
also, Kellee, to
for
ground
human.
yourself.
Yes.
As we're living in this crazy
Yeah.
time right now with all these
Yeah.
planets going crazy,
Yes.
it's good to
Yes.
know how to ground yourself and center and be still, because
Yes.
a lot of crazy energy out there, and we need to
Yeah.
be balanced and balanced
Yes.
and
Yeah.
grounded.
Absolutely. Joanne Emmanuel says, so tired of turbulent times. When are the planets going to line up for happiness and
Right?
joy?
It feels like a jet plane. It's turbulent. The
It
entire
does, but
ride.
you know
And
what,
when is this
Patricia?
plane ride going to end? Yeah.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Well, you know what I always say, we signed up for this, but I would say
Yes,
this: go
you
inward.
do.
I always say that, but go inward and find joy in your life right now. You know,
That's
I
exactly right.
really believe that. You
We
know,
always have a choice. It's either
we
good or
have a
bad.
choice.
And,
Absolutely.
it is what it is, and that's all that it is. And, you can't push the river. You got to let
Yeah,
it flow.
you can't. Yeah, you can't push the river. I use
Don't
that
get
one a
caught up in
lot.
the current. Don't get caught up in the current.
No, no. So, well, we have quite a talk tonight, which is
Yes.
so exciting.
And Kellee, since I'm on my phone, I can't see the chat room. So hello, everybody. But Kellee, you'll read the chat.
I will. I'll say hi to everybody for you. Hi, Misty. Hi, Tracy. Hi, Karen. Hi, Ann Margaret. Hi, Melissa. Hi, Justine. Hi, Kathy. Hi, Ann. A lot of Sue Wells. Hi, Sherry Craft. A lot of people. So
Hi,
this
everybody.
explains a lot, Holly says. Yeah, I hope it does. Thank you. Yeah, watch the full moon, you guys. Everybody tonight, you can also, set your spiritual intentions tonight. Okay, it
Kellee,
was
is
so
it in
good.
Did you say it was in Cancer?
It's in Capricorn,
Full
so
moon in
which makes it
Capricorn.
practical. But what it does is it brings it brings magic to it. It's practical,
And
but it
get
brings
things
magic.
done. Responsibility
Yes.
responsibility in your life is what I get. I feel
Yes.
responsibility in your relationships in your life, and that means yourself as well. I don't keep on getting that, but into yourself, have that relationship with yourself. That's Capricorn is a taskmaster. It's like, let's get it going, let's get it done.
Well, I think you're getting that. It's so funny because I have so many clients
I'm
right
psychic.
now. No, thank God, James. Thank God one of us is.
Yeah,
So-
well, we both are.
But have so many clients this week that are depressed out of their mind. They don't want to go on. I mean, and it's what you just said. It's stand up, take responsibility, do the work, go inward, and life will get better. It does. I have hope for everything, don't you? I totally do. No matter
we're gonna
what.
get out of this. We're gonna get out of this. And if it's just it's a human condition that we've signed up for, like you said, and it's just a condition. It's not who we are. It doesn't define us. It's just something. If you can observe it, step back and observe the craziest instead of getting involved in the craziest. It helps a lot. The observation helps so much. And listen, the crazy times are the ones we grow from the most.
Of
And
course.
it really is true. So what you can also go into the film and say, what should I learn from this experience tonight? What am I learning from this crazy times I'm living in? What am I learning about my
Perfect.
family? What am I learning about my relationship with my family or my partner or friends? I mean, it's
Right.
been a time for me to let go of several people that in my life, and it's always the movement. Life is about movement, bringing in and
Oh,
bringing out. So
yes.
now saying about full moon Capricorn, let's talk about the dream world because that's what we're talking about tonight. And full moons,
Yes,
do you believe that full moons bring more of an awareness of dreams, the dream
I do.
state?
I do. I
I
do
do
because it
too.
brings up a lot of emotion, and I do. I think it has a
Yeah,
lot to do with dreams, and especially I love this topic, James, reuniting with loved ones in our dreams.
I
Great
love it.
topic.
I
That
love
was
it.
you, and I think it's so. It's so accurate. I mean, let's talk about that.
Yeah,
Where do
the
you
number
find?
well, the number one way spirits communicate is the dream state, and we could say it in many ways. The dream state, the soul leaves the body at night. When you go to sleep, in the dream, you're, as you know, in an altered state of consciousness. Your light body leaves this physical body, and many times they're standing around waiting for you to go. Come on, let's go, and they bring you to the other side. And there is a real world. It's a very solid world, very real world, the astral world there. And you have houses and buildings and gardens and schools and academies. You see your guides, you see friends, partners,
Mhm.
family. And it's something we remember these things in the morning. Well, our conscious mind will remember parts of perhaps that experience. And if you remember that you've seen a loved one that's passed over, it seems very, very, very real because it was
Yes.
real. And it seems
Right.
more real than anything else. Like, this was real. And it is. I remember one of my most incredible experiences. My partner, John, at the time, I was with him for a while, and he passed over. And he used to come out to my house, my apartment every summer. And we spent the summer together. And he used to get up in the morning and make tea, herbal tea for us for breakfast. And in the dream, I had a dream, and I was back years ago in an old apartment, and I was coming downstairs, and there was a dining room, and it was exactly set up. And there John was making this tea. He opened up the cabinet door, and there were the tea boxes exactly with the names on it. He said, "Well, this is real. I'm here." I'm like, "How are you doing this?" And he said, "Oh, I made this for us. I made
Oh,
this picture for us." So they can do that. They can make these
yeah.
the setting, the atmosphere exactly as it was. That you can, in some ways, it's more real there than here because
Mhm.
everything starts. This is interesting, Kelly. Everything in spirit world, that dimension starts with thought, right? So first place is thought. The last place is physical. So when we think about it, it's first created. All of this world, this physical world, was first created in the spirit world. So that's where its home is, really. And
Right.
we reside here, but it's created over there. So when they so often say, well, it's a house of the mother, it's a mother's house, but that might be the true mother's house. And they say that's a replica of your mother's house. But to me, I'm thinking that's really the first mother's house, and down here was the replica that was made of that house.
Yes.
Let's reverse it because that's the space of thought, and this is the physical. Where the thought comes to be realized is here.
Oh, I love that. I'm going to start
Right?
thinking in those terms. I love
And you can,
that.
dream again. Everybody, again, if you surrender, if you go to sleep at night and think, "I'd love to speak to my loved one," whenever, but don't bombard them because you got to keep it open to the communication, and the conditions have to be right that your conscious mind will recall, remember these experiences. And I always say, keep your dream journal next to your bed so
Yes.
you can write down those experiences of your loved ones, because that will leave you after a while. It's like
Yeah.
mediumship. After we do recalculated readings,
Oh,
probably 15 minutes or 20 minutes, we forget everything,
I have no idea. People
right?
will say,
Same thing with
"Remember when you
dreams.
said this?" I said, "No, I actually don't."
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah, people
sorry.
probably, you told me this and it would happen and it happened. I said, oh, I don't
Right.
remember that. So thank you, but I don't remember. Same thing in the dream state. You go to that vibration, that dimension, and you come down to the physical, kind of like you're washed away or your mindset is different now. So
Right. So what you're saying is that sometimes you may not remember that you
most
just
of the
had
time
a
you won't
dream.
remember.
You won't.
That's right.
Yeah.
Most of the time you won't remember. But if you keep a journal, dream journal down, you can talk about your night, your visitations. And you can also go to sleep at night. As you go to sleep, sending out thoughts about where am I going to go tonight? What do I want to go visit tonight? Do I want to visit a certain person? Let me go visit my mother. How is my mother doing? And let yourself go to
Right.
sleep that way. And I'll remember and just try to tell remember this in the morning, but don't beat yourself up. Just put it out there. But it'll be interesting to see it's going to be an experiment. Use it as an experiment and see how it works for you. And there might
Right.
be some experiments work better than others. Some spirit people might be better at doing it with you than others. So
Right.
just experiment with it because it
I
happens.
was very surprised. My dad turned out to be better than my mom with dreams. I was
Isn't that
surprised.
interesting?
I would have never believed that because my
Well, you know
dad
why, Kelly?
didn't believe me.
But your dad is more creative.
But exactly right. My dad was so creative, and he came to me once, James, and I write about this one in the book, which he used to call me spooky, and he didn't really want to hear anything that I had to say, and he just, I mean, he was whatever, but he was Lee. But anyway, what happened is one night I was asleep, and you can tell yourself before you go to bed that you want to remember your dreams.
Yes.
And often what will happen is if I have a dream of a loved one, I'll have to get up to go to the bathroom, or my dog will bark or something. And I'll kind of remember it. I remember it. But one night my dad came to me in a dream. I was at my old house where I grew up, and I was doing readings, for people. And there was a line to come and see me do these readings. And again, I'm in my old house doing readings for people. And all of a sudden I hear knock, knock, knocking on heaven's door. And I go, what's that? The old song, knock, knock, knocking on heaven's door.
Yeah.
So I opened the door, and there was my dad.
And Dad was a musician. So
he was a musician,
he would
right?
use that reference.
He would use that reference. He gave me the biggest hug, and then he just smiled, and he turned around and he left, which was totally him. But I have
and that's
to
all he had to do, though.
That's all he had to do. It was such a. I still remember it like it was just yesterday. And then my mom came to me last night. Now my mother doesn't. I have to tell everybody
about this. This is a great one.
So my mom doesn't come to me that often in dreams. It's very few and very far between. And yes, you're absolutely right. My dad was way more creative. But last night, I went shopping on Saturday, and I just could feel my mom's presence everywhere
Kellee gave herself a gift. Kellee, let's applaud for Kellee. She finally gave herself the gift to go out and buy some clothes and do some great things for Kellee, because Kellee's always giving to people. Cancer Moon, always giving to other people. So
yeah.
So
thanks. So Mrs. Mom and Pa Kettle, we went out shopping, and I shopped till I dropped, and it was so much fun. So I had a dream last night. My mother came to me in this dream, and she looked so radiant and so beautiful, and she was wearing these special shoes. And I looked down and I said, "Oh, Mom, those are the shoes I just bought." And she had this big smile on her face, and those shoes, ironically, those were the exact shoes that I bought. But on top of that, my mom had a pair. My sister reminded me my mother had a pair of those exact shoes years ago. And anyway, it was just a sweet. It was so great. I just wanted to hold on to her forever,
And that just shows you she's next to you. She's with you. She's impressing you to buy the shoes.
No doubt she did.
Because every day they're in our lives involved with impressing us. What is the best for us? And they do it in such a subtle way. You would never know they're around us, but they're there, everybody. They're there very much so. And the dream state, one thing I want to talk about really quickly is that the personalities of them don't change. The personalities are much the same. There was a second cousin of mine who passed away, and I met this lady when I was 14 years old. Met her in Wales, my second cousin by marriage. And she, kindest, lovely, talk about farmhouse country. She was in a small town in South Wales. We're talking about, she was born at the town church up the street. And she met her husband or boyfriend, who was my second cousin, at the local pub up the street, which is still there. And I went there when I was 18, 19, whatever it was. And a lovely lady. She likes to take care of the family and stay at home. And that was her place. Her home was it. Gemini, but it must have had a cancer somewhere, because she was just family. And her daughter called me up and said she's passed over. And I was really shocked and going through it. And then about 2 nights after that, I had a dream of her. And she was very psychic, extremely psychic. She would say to me things like, "Are you dating a man? What's your boyfriend's name?" I'm like, 18. I'm like, how does she know this? And she was just very psychic, very natural country psychic. And she came to the stream, and we're sitting in her living room area, her sitting room, with the small couch, and it was all her. She said, "Oh, Jamie," and she said, I'm very upset." I said, "Why are you upset?" She goes, "Well, I don't know what to do. I really can't be with my family, and they were everything to me." So she was in that mindset that she had to still take care of them. And this was 2 months after she passed. So I said, "It's okay, Joyce. You're going to move on. It's okay. We're always with you." And she goes, "I knew you'd hear me and see me." And she said, "I've tried to get through to the others, but they won't see me or hear me. But I knew you would." And she said, "Thank you very much." I just tried telling her, it's gonna be okay. It's gonna be okay. But it was so real. It was just so really reach out and touch them. So I call those crossovers. That's the term I use for those.
Crossovers. Okay, that's a good one. Jill Lynch says, "My mom came to me in a dream and was literally talking to me. She even hugged me, and it was amazing. There's nothing quite like getting a hug in a dream from a loved one. Nothing quite like it. It's that love, yeah.
Yeah.
I had. Go ahead.
No,
Go
it's,
ahead.
I had a partner pass over, John, and
Right.
I was in the back of a convertible driving down the street, and he hugged me, and I
Mm.
thought, I'm not sure if we're together, like we should be together, but there was this unconditional love for each other. It was great. Yeah.
There's nothing like that. I have a client, and I have to tell you her dream. She sent me this the other day. She had a dream in 2019 that she was with her beloved mother who had passed, and she saw her mother, and they hugged really tightly, and she was so happy. And then she saw her best friend who had passed away, and that also they hugged and hugged and hugged, which is really, that's not uncommon. It happens. And she said, and then she said, in this dream, she said, she all of a sudden the earth shook and the clouds got stormy and dark. And she said she knew that they were in heaven and that she couldn't be there. She wasn't there to join them. But she also knew that heaven existed and that they would be all together. And not too far after that, her beloved husband died. And I thought that was what that was about.
That was the reason that would happen,
Yeah.
of course, to let her know that he was going to be okay, that there was no
Yeah.
death.
That
I
there
mean,
was
there's
no
no
death.
death.
Exactly.
I mean, really, everyone, there's no death. It's
Right.
like we waste so much time worrying about death. There's no such thing.
There's no such thing.
It's really,
Yeah.
you know, should put your mind on death, but on life and how you
Yes.
are in the moments, you know.
Yeah. Yes. Okay, here we go. Bernadette DeSur says, how can we know the difference between an actual dream and a past life regression memory or dreams?
Well, I would say, and I've had those. You've had those past life dreams.
I have.
So it's almost as if whether the way on the cruise we're going to be doing that, we're going to be taken to a past life pavilion or a space where they specialize in that. So to me, my experience, everyone's very different. But my experience has been, I was that person. I was in the place, the space, the country, the time, and I was very aware it was me as a soul with a different body. So same soul, different bodies. And I was aware of my actions that life, not only in a dream state, but in a regress state. And
I have too.
And a dream is very different than that. You know,
Yeah.
you're not as, like, I guess you'd say, you're not as active, or you're not involved as much. In a dream, to me, it's more like you're observing it. But in a past life remembrance, you're in it, I guess.
Yeah, that's a good way to say it. And also, sometimes you will have a dream with a loved one who's passed that people will say to me, you know, it's uncomfortable. We had a fight in the dream or whatever. And that could be a process dream. So you can be processing your loved ones. Let's say when they pass, you still had a lot of feelings going, a lot of emotion going on, a lot of problems, perhaps. You'd be processing that, or even processing the trauma of their death, or processing their death. And then there's difference. That's a different dream than a visitation dream. Visitation dream, they bring love and what's the right word to use that with, James? I mean, just a lot of love and a lot of memories and
happiness, joy.
Joy.
But also what you said, Kellee, is really important in that, the trauma, because this happened the other day with my events. It was, and it always happens when we do readings, that spirit that passed over might have some trauma left over, or a bad memory, or they don't feel like they did enough. Or just for instance, let's say a father passes over that didn't tell his daughter he loved her enough, and he feels guilty on the other side about that, and he wants to get through to her that, I love you, please forgive me. Those types of dreams will happen where you have a visitation with them, and they get they get the opportunity to tell you that you can recall it, your conscious mind, how they really, really love you, because they know that, and it's a process, and it might be, I mean, I don't know how they do it, but they could show you different scenarios and viewpoints of things for you to understand their point of view. And you know, I just said today to somebody, you have to understand that you're on a level that many of us have unrealistic expectations of others, and we got to be aware and compassionate enough and have empathy for those who didn't understand that was the right way. As Kellee has taught me, you know, people are limited, and your loved ones, just because they pass over doesn't mean they know everything or they have manners. The personality survives, and they make your help to move on, your forgiveness, your sense of, I really love you, I care for you. Take the high road. You know, I talked about this the other day about forgiveness, and it's so true. Forgiveness is a virtue, no doubt about it, because you're forgiving yourself, and you bring yourself some medicine for yourself. And it also helps the other spirit move on.
Oh, for sure it does. For sure. I had an old boyfriend that came back to me, I don't know, 10 years ago while I was asleep. And he came to me and he said, would you please forgive me? He treated me pretty badly. And I hadn't seen him in 30 years or something. And to be honest, I'd forgotten about him completely. Yeah. I had long moved on. But he said, would you please forgive me? And I think, James, that he had a life review or something, and then saw his
Yeah.
dysfunction while he was alive. And I said to him, "Of course I forgive you. I mean, I'm not going to hold on to that.
But just have the
Why
thought
would
that,
I?"
but the awareness, Kelly, of that that's a mental world, and that
Yes.
all the mental thoughts are there, and they said bad things, did bad things. It stays in their head. It's like when on the earth when we do something bad or say something bad, so we feel, oh, I shouldn't have said it. Oh, I
I
shouldn't have done it.
know.
Oh, imagine when there's no time and you relive it over and over and over
Oh,
again. And that's really what it's about. So you're giving them space to grow and yourself space to grow. Opportunities, I say.
yeah.
Opportunity.
Opportunity. Sally Farewell says, I've had 3 visits from my husband after he passed. The last one was shortly after my daughter's wedding, and he stood by the ship that was docked, dressed in his suit with a carnation, smiling at me, and turned and walked away. She said, I knew then that he had walked her down the aisle along with me. Oh,
100%.
absolutely.
100%.
Yeah.
They always do that. They will never miss an event. They're there, and they will show you by creating that scene into your mind. They push that into your mind, so you know that they were there, that they're part of the experience.
Yes.
They just don't, they just don't become a figment of your imagination when they pass out of the body. They're more real than we are. They're much more. They only describe they're much more real than we are.
I'm
This is
glad
only
you said
part
that.
of
It's
us.
not a figment because so many people will say, I had a dream with my husband, or I had a dream with my son, or I had a dream with somebody, and I mean, it couldn't be real. I hear that all the time. I'm
It's
thinking,
real.
have you lost your mind? Of course, it's real. It's
Listen, I
very
had a
real.
lady the other night. It was so interesting, see these reactions of these of mediumship. And one lady's, it's so interesting because she was a very interesting lady. She kept on, her husband came through, and she was very not sure. She said, "Oh boy," I said, "Well, you have his wallet and his watch in the left nightstand, and there were his wallets there with the cards." With yes, 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 yes. And then I thought he was a very good communicator. But she was a little bit of a problem, but she goes, "And does he have his nickname?" I said, "No, I don't do nicknames, but you certainly got the wallet and the credit cards and the watch. Does that mean something?" "I hope so." "You hope so?" "What does that mean?" "I hope so." So, but I think that person has to look within themselves and resolve
Yeah.
something within themselves.
Oh
So
yeah.
it's it's the spirit people. I feel for them because they're always around us trying to get through to us, and
Yes.
we put up walls. We put up walls. Come to me this way. Say this to me. Do this.
Right.
Come. Have to have this. It builds walls up, and we got to
Oh
be, again, learn to surrender and be still,
yeah.
and don't be so pushy with them. They're around you all the time, and they
Don't
never
be so
leave you.
pushy. They never leave.
They never
Betty
leave.
Stevens says, my sister used to come to me all the time, but she doesn't come anymore. Could I be blocking it?
I was going to say, why don't you see her anymore? So don't put the emphasis on them. The emphasis on you. So what have you done that you don't see her anymore? Are you more caught up in phonetic energy? Are you not still? Are you not just open? Like what's going on in your life? Because I would put it on you to say that. It's not her coming to you. Are you coming to her?
Right.
So I just
Exactly.
change that around and make it the opposite.
I like that. I like
Yeah.
how you're doing that tonight. I like that, changing it around. I
It's
like
it's
that.
really important to everybody. It's really, you got to give them the space. So, you got to show up. They show up. They're all around us, but do you show up?
Exactly. So, Laura says, I'm an only child and my deceased mother visits me often, especially in my dreams. She said, I dream of her so often. We are usually doing just normal things.
Yeah.
Sometimes I think that I'm living in an alternative reality with my mother. What do
Well,
you
you
and James
are.
think?
Hello.
Right?
You are. We are part of many, many levels right now. As I've said before, this body, the soul's like 20% in here, 80% out here on different levels of awareness, and you're living in all these different spaces and places. At the same time, you have this limited physical experience. So you are living an alternative space. We all are, and there are many that we are in that sometimes we're aware of them. Sometimes we get an insightful look at it. Sometimes we don't. But we're living in several different worlds at once, is all I can say.
Absolutely. So this is from Renee Hounsel. Hi, Renee. She
Hi,
says,
Renee.
please, when I experience a dream connection, it's always meeting on the other side. A few
Always.
people, always. Yeah, she said, a few people speak that told me it's not. She said,
Well,
it's the astral plane. Is that based on our energy where we meet? Astral plane.
I would say the astral plane, and we talk about the astral plane, many things about the astral plane. Hold on one sec. Kelly, can you continue that? I have to get something for the astral plane. Hold on.
Okay. So, so Renee, that's a really great question. When I meet with my loved ones, often it is in the astral plane, but there are many different levels. And I've actually been on higher levels to be with certain loved ones. I've experienced that So I think that's what James is going to talk about. But
I'll be right with you. I'm looking for this information.
is that the information about the astral planes, about the different
Yes.
planes? Okay, great.
Well, I've been studying it because I'm for the cruise.
Oh,
I
that's
can't find
right.
the
You have
paper,
that
but
great. Oh,
it's a
shoot.
great, like, I don't know where I put it, but
Yeah.
it's a great, like, map of the other side, of the different
Yeah.
levels. And the first is the astral world, where your thoughts become materialized, can be realized. So that is a space that we go. And remember, it's not just one band; it's several bands within a band. So
Right.
or some spectrum. So you go there, and it becomes realized. Matter becomes realized, and that could be a meeting point of the other dimensions and this physical dimension. It's the closest to the physical dimension. So when I first leave the body, you go there, the astral world. And it'll feel very real. There'll be mountains and lakes and houses and gardens and buildings, and it's very much interesting. It's very interesting because whenever I do a workshop, in the physical workshop with people, even on Zoom, and it's a 2 or 3 day workshop, they say, "Well, I had a dream of you last night, and you were in class." I said, "Yes, we continue on the other side. We don't stop here at physicalness.
Right.
We continue on the other side, learning and understanding. And even if it wasn't just a workshop here, we souls tend to go over there sometimes and study, go to school,
Right.
prepare for upcoming events in our lives. That happens all the time. I just
All
want to
the
show you what I
time.
have down here.
What do you have to? Is that Pearl? Hi, Pearly. I'm gonna see you soon, honey.
That's what
Because
that's what's going on down here.
I love that. So Red Thunder says, what does it mean when family comes to you, but they just smile and they don't speak? That happens to me all the time, Red Thunder.
So I would just personally, the way I handle that is let you know, number one, they're around you, that they're right around you, to remember they're with you. And then I would often say, in the morning you first wake and you have that sense of that you had that experience, right away ask them, what did you want to say to me? What was the message? What was the message? And write it down. I've done that many a time, and they come in that way. They don't stop coming to you just because the dream is over. So they can continue in the waking state. That's where I take the journal and write down exactly, because that space is still pretty open, and you don't want to fill it yet with the waking state. So you can easily get information what the message is, and they will have a message for you. They just don't.
But they don't always just talk. I mean, often they'll just be very silent.
No, most of the time they don't talk. Most of the time you have
Right.
to see them, or there's an activity there, or you again. It's very active, the astral world. We're very, very busy over there at nighttime. All of us. We see our guides, we see our teachers, we go to schools, we do our mission work, we do all different our soul work, if you will. So there's so many things. It's not boring, and it's not
No,
stagnant over there. It's busy, busy, busy.
it's busy, busy, busy.
And that's
So,
where spirits come in, spirits go out. So it's a lot
so
going on.
Tom Casino says, what's the purpose of a near-death experience? If there is a purpose, he said, I've had 2 of them.
Well, Kellee, what do you think?
Well, I think it's to give us for our soul to remember who we are, so that we remember that the other side exists, that we're visitors here.
Exactly. I exactly right. I think the same thing. If you remember that we're a soul having a human experience.
Mm-hmm.
And also it's interesting because, I think it helps in the soul's development. So it's hard to say, but that soul needs that to realize there is no death, that you are more than just this body.
Yeah.
And also I think, and from my experience, when I had near-death experience, and I was wondering why, because I was already believing life after death, but it changed the frequency around me.
For sure.
It changed the
that.
frequency. I was much more sensitive after that. I was much more
Mhm.
aware after that. I was much more open and even grew more. So that was and the messages that came through were on a higher level. So people would say to me, your messages that come through you are of a high level of compassion and guidance and so forth. And of course, I'm like, well, I don't know. I just, whatever happens, happens. But it's true that you can also open yourself up to higher truths.
Oh, I love that. So true. Here we go. This is from
Karen.
Worth.
Let me try 1 second. I just hear this. That lady's back.
Okay.
The spirit world works with the conditions that you give them. So they can only do the best they can with you. So what conditions are you going to set up for them to speak to you, to see you? You have to set the conditions of the mind, of the space, of the place. And that's your responsibility to do that. And you can't leave it all up to them. So they can only work with what you give them.
And that's why, as a medium, it's so important that you do your work on yourself and you ground yourself and you stay in meditation and you eat healthfully and you sleep and you all these things, because it's your vehicle you're using.
It's your soul self. You're involved in your soul self. It's not. The message is one part of mediumship. I feel it's one part of it. But to me, it's more the soul expansion and awareness. And that's. I often say that the mediumship is a byproduct of the work, and it's a byproduct of sitting in development and sitting in the silence and expanding your soul self. That's really part of it. One of the abilities is you become more sensitized to messages, to the clairvoyance,
Right.
clairsentience, clairaudience.
Yeah.
You become more of the light body. You're using your light body. It makes sense because the more you're able to activate that light body and use that in sitting in the stillness, you become more aware. That's really what it's about. Is being more aware, because then the choices in your life are easier. You know, how you look at yourself is much easier. How you look at another person, you know, life becomes much easier when you have an awareness of yourself as a soul being having a human experience. It just is.
Absolutely. Kieran Worth says, thank you both. I've been very fortunate to have my deceased son, Tony, come to me in dreams. That's great. I never doubted the afterlife until he died. Then I was very worried if he was okay and if he was still here. He told me it was like being in a dream for him, which helps.
So my mother passed over and she said, it's like a dream world. And when I've had that I've had the experience of being on the other side and back and forth, I've experienced it as a dream world, but in many ways, it's more real than this world. It's not really a dream world. Becomes the dream world. That becomes the real world, and this becomes the dream world.
Exactly.
And many spirits have said that. And it's interesting, you're losing a son passed, so it's one of the hardest lessons in the physical world. But they're not dead. They're not gone anywhere. But it may be also, I want everyone to know that those who pass over in their soul's destiny, in their soul's time, because every soul has a destiny to fulfill. And it might be they go through the human experience for 10 years, maybe 5 years, maybe 20 years, maybe 80 years. It all depends on that soul's sign up, their contract. But they often go over, when they pass over, they're helping us here on the physical. So it's almost like, I often say, you know, we're on a stage and we're the actors on a stage, but then someone passes over, then they become the stage hands. They become the stage managers. They're looking out from us from the other side, and they're making things happen for us. Maybe it's a destiny, an agreement between yourself and the soul that they had to pass over that time in order for something else to happen in your life later on that was called your destiny, and they need to go over there to fulfill your soul's destiny, that they have to help from the other side and do something in order for you to go through that. You understand what I mean?
Absolutely. Right on.
That
was
came in.
excellent. Listening to every word, and every word is so spot on.
Makes sense, doesn't it? I mean, I've thought about that before, but I just heard that.
Yeah. Marianne Grabeau says, I had a very strange question for you. She said, I lost my cat, Tippy, 2 weeks ago. I'm sorry. She said, I miss her so much. My strange question is, will I see her again in the next life? And will she try to contact me? She said, I never cried this much over a cat. She got to your heart. Absolutely. Of course you're going to see her again.
Yeah. That Kellee said to me today about some tender heart. And I love that expression, a tender heart. The animals do that. They make our heart tender and make our heart soft.
Yeah.
The animals, it's so funny. I was just listening to a tape, Leslie Flint tape, and it talked about animals. And I was reading the book World Beyond by Anthony Borgia, as we talked about last week.
Yeah.
And it's all throughout. Animals are real. Animals are here. Animals are all around us. Your animals come in, and they come to get you. They are with you. They also help in creation of things you need in your life. They don't forget you. They don't forget you. They're right with you. I know Pearl, my dog here, was influenced by Maisie, who passed over. I know it. I just know it.
Of course.
It's the soul's not limited. So it's almost like you can have a part of that and a part of that. And the kitty is, love never dies. Love continues on. So your kitty's been with you, but you've been so involved in the grief of it and feeling that. I know an animal. It's the worst thing. I know. I love it. I know. It's the hardest thing. Yeah. But when you realize that she's with you, because that love is how she comes to you, just close your eyes and start feeling her and ask her to come in and do it and just feel her. And you think, oh, it's my imagination. Great. Let it be your imagination. Just open the door and see what happens and feel the kitty in your heart, because that's what she is. And I get a sense that she's up on your pillow in your bed.
I was going to say making indentation on the bed.
On the pillow and indentation and licking you, and so grateful for you to give her that experience in the physical world. So grateful. They are so grateful. When my doggie, I had to put my doggie down, it was the worst ever. And I said, you know, it's my turn, please come and get me. And I left the vet, and like 10 minutes later, I'm waiting to a nursery. I had nowhere to go. She came to me so clearly, and a puffed white, it wasn't her, it didn't look like her physically, it was her puffed white self, but it was her essence. And she thanked me so much for letting her be free. She said, I'm free, I'm free, I'm free.
She was busy for a long time, too. You spent a lot of time with her after she passed. She was always around.
It's true.
My gosh. Bridget Wolf says, a partner of mine passed away in 1995. And then several years later, he visited and was asked when I was going to work on his book. I said, when I get a sign? And that was the wrong thing to say to a shaman, because not 5 minutes later, I saw a flock of crows. That was a sign. I still have not written his book. Bridget, better get to it.
You better get to it. It'll haunt you.
I mean, that's a good sign. Let's see. Oh, Kathy Kononenko. She says, I dreamt one time that I visited heaven and everyone there was waving to me and saying that they missed me. And I didn't know any of these people. And when I woke up, I felt so happy that I had seen them. So what I would say about that is you may not consciously in this lifetime have known any of those people, but they may have been loved ones from many lifetimes.
Or even possibility, let's think of everything.
Yeah.
They may be those souls, those beings who are helping to make the conditions right and creating that space for your mind that in a later date you may be able to see loved ones, and that they're trying you out. They're trying out that aspect of your mind. They're working with your astral body and traveling and seeing if it's effective. And they might be the engineers, these strangers, to make that happen. I do feel that the spirit people, our loved ones, carry on their work. And many, many times they carry on work that they would have loved to have done here, but they weren't able to. My mother was my guide right away, and I asked her why, and she said, because I don't feel I did enough for you in the physical world, so I can help you in the spiritual world. My sister Lynn, who passed over, came to the day, and she said, so what are you doing with your time with it? She goes, oh, I'm taking courses on human awareness.
Bravo,
I'm taking
Lynn.
courses on human awareness, because I didn't do it here and I needed to be more aware. And she said, it's you. And I think that was, you said human awareness. I know there was a bigger concept in that, but I knew that she had to put it in like a word that I'd understand.
So my grandmother, no, totally. My grandmother, who was a Jehovah's Witness back in the day, came to me, I don't know, several years ago. And we never got along. We never even had a relationship, but she came to me and she showed me all these psychology books, and she just nodded and she said, I want you to know. And she was really working on a lot of things up there with the human awareness, Yeah. So, okay, here we go.
But Kellee, there's so many people that pass over and they feel this work they have to do, and they feel they can give of themselves freer there than they were able to do here for whatever the conditions were here in the lifetime. They didn't have the proper conditions that fed their soul. So when they pass to the other side, it feeds their soul. You're free to do what your soul desires to do. And even in the beginning, when you want to, and let's say you want to do some creative, like learn how to play the piano or learn artwork, you're able to do that. The other night, a man came through. It was a wonderful reading, and he said it was a messenger, and he was apologizing for not being himself to his daughter. He was out of his head. He alcohol. She understood that. And he said, "But I'm able to do art here." And he said, "And I'm going to show you some art." He gave me a really strong sense, and it was like oil canvas. He showed a big room. Big canvas. And he said, not only is it, I paint it, you see it, but you go into the different colored paints, you feel the colors, and you feel the different textures and the levels of the color. And it's like, it's a full painting. It's not only one dimensional, it's fullness. You can look at it and you get the essence, the emotion, and you feel it. As you look at that painting, you feel all that emotion within you. And I know that's limited to what it's trying to get through, but you feel all that. So they can do that there, you see.
Wow. I love this. That's why it's called heaven. Okay, Penny Wade said, I had visitations that came to apologize. My friend Tom apologized and I hugged him bawling. It was intense. It can be intense, Penny, and how wonderful for you guys to have had that experience.
And in order to have the experience, everybody, just keep an open mind. That's the best. Right. Even in life, you got to keep an open mind.
Oh, gosh.
In order to fill it with truth, you have to keep an open mind. You'll discover truth the more that your mind is open. If your mind is closed, you won't receive anything.
So true. Vicki McManus Gonzalez, she said, my husband's come to me in almost every dream, and it's been so real. She said, but recently, wait for it, I started a relationship, and suddenly he no longer comes to me in my dreams. Well,
taken care of.
I mean, you're taken care of. Exactly. And he doesn't need to anymore.
The other night, in the message that came the other night, and I'm sure the sister's here, Candace is here, this gentleman who's lost his fiancée. And in the middle of the reading, she said, and this happens quite a bit, and Kellee, I know you've done this as well, they would often say, and I had to say it very gingerly, I said, would you be open to receiving a loving relationship, another loving relationship? And the guy, Dean, goes, you betcha, yeah. Because his wife is going to find the best person to match with him. And many times, more times out of not, they do that. The spirit person, your loved one, your partner that you're with, let's say, they will try to find you a mate that is perfect for yourself and the connection. So they do that. So they do that. They love you. They want the best for you always.
Absolutely. Bonnie Bond says, "Can people feel guilt on the other side?"
I think they can feel guilt. They feel
Oh
like they
yeah.
can accomplish this. And sometimes you can go with that mindset, shoulda, woulda, coulda. I should
Hmm.
have done that. Oh, if only I knew then. I wrote the book Unfinished Business years ago because I got so tired of hearing the spirit people say, if only I knew then what I know now, I would have made a different choice. And it's love or fear. And that's it. So we have to live every moment to the fullest and live in love. The past has already happened. The future is yet to be, so live this moment now.
Right. Oh my gosh. Um, S- Cindy Bruno Johnson. So, what's the best way to have a visitation dream? I badly want to have a visit from my husband, who passed away 2 years and 7 months ago.
Did we say that? I thought
Yeah,
we
we
talked
said that at
about
the
that.
beginning. I mean,
I thought we
just
talked about that. So
stay open, Cindy. Stay open. And I'm sure he's been there many times. You probably just don't recall it.
be still, ask him to
Hmm.
come through when he's able to, but don't be forceful. Remember, it's the conditions that you set up. We can't be demanding. We just got to do the work for ourselves. Open up that space. Keep a journal next to your bed for sure, and we'll see what happens. How they communicate. Just because they've also passed over doesn't mean they know the correct way or the way the
Right.
process of coming and communing with you in a dream state that you will consciously remember. You remember when you're in that astral world, but getting it to remember in the conscious state is a little different. So I'm sure there's some factors involved with that and
So
difficulties, of
true.
course.
So
The
true.
spirit people have said to me, you human beings, you human species are so difficult because you change your mind left and right and you don't stay true to who you are and you go off in this tangent and that. How can we work with that? They say. How can they, how,
I'm going to
how do you
work with
expect,
that.
how do you expect us to work with that? They say to
Can
me.
you imagine? They're just sitting there like, really? We're sitting right there. What is your problem? So this is a good one. This is from Debbie LaSalle's. She said, my grandmother knew when someone was going to pass by her dreams.
Yeah.
Always the same dream. She'd enter a room with a long table where everyone seated was deceased. I have had this dreams many times. There was one seat open, and when she went to sit, she was told, no, it's not for you. The next day, she'd find out somebody who had passed. When she passed away, she visited me. I've had that experience, Debbie.
Have you,
I know.
Kelly?
Oh, more than one occasion. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Where I
That's a
walk
good
in
one.
and
That's a great one, I
it's
think.
a great one. Yeah. And it's something. And now I take it pretty well. When I was younger and it used to happen, it made me, it was hard for me.
I'm very attuned to people that when I in the audience or when I'm reading them, whatever. I'm very attuned to when someone's not taking care of themselves. I'm very aware that the life force is falling down, and it usually comes from fear and self-imposed worries and
Yeah.
living in total fear, and they become. Remember, fear restricts, it limits, and you have this energy, this prana coming through you. Your fears, your worries block it. It blocks that. So you really should, I think, every day ask yourself, am I open today? If I'm not, what am I blocking? And then look at it. Why am I blocking this? Why can I hear? Why can I see spirit when I sleep at night? What is holding me back from the dream state to have visitations? And I think you should ask yourself that because we can give you general answers and wonderful answers and resolutions, but you yourself, each soul is so different, and how your mind works is so different. So I think it's good for you to yourself to go to self discovery and do it every day. Assess yourself.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. And, okay. Yeah, well, it's the same question. Manuel says, what does it mean when a deceased family member tries to speak in a dream, but the words are mute? That happens a lot. I mean,
Happens a lot. I mean,
yeah,
just them manipulate the dream state with you, and that you're able to remember it in the conscious state is a miracle. But the words on top of that's a hard one. That's a hard one.
yeah.
So I don't find I get words from anyone really that much. I get more thoughts.
I get more thoughts too. Yeah.
Yeah, like my second cousin, I got thoughts,
Hmm.
and they don't they don't use words on the other side. It's all telepathy. It's all done
Exactly.
telepathically. So the instrument is it's a telepathic connection. It's not a physical connection per se. So we got to be open to those different ways and aspects of that world and how they communicate.
Absolutely. So, James, tell us what's going on here. So I know that you've got.
I'm crazy, Kelly.
I
Just know
know.
that I'm
No.
going
What?
crazy.
Okay, the meditation course.
My meditation course
Got that.
is fantastic. I have till Thursday the 2nd. It goes up in price, so it's silly savings right now of I think it's $40.
Oh, that's
So
great.
yeah, so it's August 2nd. It goes up to the regular price of 3 more days, 2 more days, and 3 more days.
Right.
And then it goes regular price and it becomes an evergreen course. And then I have let's see what's going on. I have the cruise that we're going to be doing, and I have this Thursday I'm going to do a soul care intensive. And the school, I'm setting up right now. I'm setting up what's called a bundle. We have three I'm doing a transformational work. So if I don't do workshops, I use my courses to set up a certain mindset. So the next one I'm getting into is transformation, and it's going to be the 28 days of transformation, 7 days of energy cleanse. So it's all those ones that transform people because I think it's needed. So I'm working on that right now.
Oh gosh, James, that'd be so good for this next several months coming up. I mean, really good for that. Wow. And everybody, I want to remind everybody, set your spiritual intentions today, because this full moon is really about creating magic and setting the goals for your life and what you will spiritually. Think of it like that. And if tonight you want to start, seeing your loved ones in dreams, set that intention and then
Kellee,
let it go.
Let me interrupt you by saying I have to, if you don't mind. Excuse me.
No, please.
You said, maybe, sir, you're set. And I'm thinking, she's going to say, set your clock's back. And I want to say, think of it like that, setting your clock. So setting your clock for intentions. So set your intentions like you set a clock back or forth.
I like that. I like that. Yeah. So and put your crystals out and take a wonderful bath and put your if you want to make moon water tonight, tomorrow is a good time to do that. So
great.
It's quite a powerful time, everybody. So and then you'll see me Thursday. Electronics will be coming up, and Thursday I'll be doing all of month of August, astrology for all of August. So
good.
Well, good. Yeah. Anyway, everybody, we will see you next week. Have a great week.
Have a great week, everybody.
All right.
We're traveling, so there'll be a lot of delays in airplanes. So just realize that.
Just realize. There you go. All right.
Thanks, Renee. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.
You've been listening to Both Sides Now and Beyond, featuring spiritual medium and master teacher James Van Praagh and spiritual medium and psychotherapist Kellee White.
That was great. Maybe we changed some lives.
And maybe opened up some minds.
Which way do I turn?
Right. I mean left.
The James and Kellee Show.